Hi, everybody. I'm Melanie Dizon. I'm the Director of Education at the Davis Phinney Foundation, and today I am here with Tom Palizzi. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Mel, how are you doing?
Pretty good. So
Good.
Tom is been a longtime friend of the foundation, and he's also Davis Phinney Foundation ambassador and part of the Young Onset Parkinson's Council. So today I wanted to talk to him a little bit about his experience with Parkinson's and just to give everybody a good sense of what it really means to live well, because Tom is the poster child for living well with Parkinson's. So Tom, can you tell us a little bit about what was it like when you were first diagnosed, and was it something that it took a while for you to accept? What was the diagnosis process like? A lot of people have very interesting stories of that. So what was it like for you?
Yeah, it is very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I think some people kind of chase the chase the dragon, so to speak, on the diagnosis. But I got lucky actually. I went in for a physical exam. And I was 48 years old at the time, kind of at the peak of my career, and life was just wonderful, and it still is, but it was even more wonderful back then. Anyway, I went in for my physical exam, and everything turned out just fine. The doctor said, "Anything bothering you?" And I said, "Well, I get this thing on my pinky finger on my left hand where my pinky just sticks to the keyboard and I'll get a row of A's." And I said it kind of jokingly, and she goes, "That sounds kind of interesting." So she had me do the finger dance, and I did that. And she then asked me to see suggested that I see a neurologist. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, 2 seconds ago you said I was in great health, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing a neurologist. And this things would have it, there was a neurologist. The person that she referred me to was open that day, and I actually got in to see the neurologist that afternoon. So I went from my physical exam to lunch with my wife to the neurologist, and I came home with a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. And I thought, wow, how does that all happen in one day? So
Wow.
perfectly healthy to Parkinson's. So I think, did I get over that, or was it hard to accept that? Yeah, it was a little challenging. I remember sitting there in the chair, and when she said those words, I think you have Parkinson's disease, and my brain immediately snaps into how long do I have to live, and then it was, wait a minute, well, there's this guy on Michael J. Fox who's still alive, and he's had this for a long time, and then I thought, what the hell is Parkinson's disease? I mean, I had no idea. So when I kind of snapped back to real life and back into reality, she said, there's a process we'll go through to figure this out, but if you're okay to go, you can go, and we'll have you back here in a couple of days. So as things would have it, I came back in a few days, and she suggested that I get a second opinion, which I was going to ask her about anyway. And I got a second opinion, and that confirmed the diagnosis. And that began my new life and my new mission and my new journey with Parkinson's disease.
Wow. So you said you were at the peak of your career and you had a family, and what was it like when you found it out? Was it difficult for you to find other people who were, facing similar things? Most people think of, oh, Parkinson's is an old person, right? And they're kind of away from that, but you were smack dab in the middle of building a career and a family and everything.
Yeah, the youngest child was still in high school, and the oldest had just started college. So we were kind of in that career, or that life transition point. And as far as career goes, like I said, I was at the height of my career. Our business was going fantastically well, and continued even without me, but that was a good thing. And the things you start to think about are, am I prepared for this? Well, I don't think anybody really is prepared when they're that young, or even younger in some cases. But my mind snapped almost immediately to, okay, get the house in order, so to speak, and make sure the finances are all set. Where are we at here? Where are we at there? How do you tell the kids? How do I tell my business partners? Which, all those things kind of rush through your mind. And 2 weeks after I was diagnosed, I had a anxiety attack, because all those things kept building in my head. And I remember distinctly, I was vacuuming the house because I was trying to do something normal. And I just laid down on the floor, and I said, we got to go to the doctor. I said, something's not right. Well, it just turned out to be an anxiety thing. But that's the kind of stuff that a lot of people experience when they're young onset, so to speak, and they hear that diagnosis. I mean, your mind just goes crazy. And I've helped a lot of people through that same experience, ironically, as an ambassador. But it's something that I don't want to use the word enjoy, but I really feel fulfilled about helping people through that step, because there is another side to it. I mean, you get over the hump, and life becomes manageable, and it goes on, and you learn how to live well, and away you go.
Yeah. How did you end up telling your kids?
Well, I'm kind of a full disclosure kind of guy, not full transparency, what have you, but we just told them what it was, and they understood. Again, they were a little bit older. They were old enough to get a grasp on that, and they kind of knew about Parkinson's disease because they had heard me talking about it with my wife and that, but they didn't seem to interrupt them very much. I mean, they knew I wasn't going to die right away. We explained that whole thing, and they did their own little research in that. And it became kind of a source of humor around our house. So it's been kind of a fun adventure. So I hate to put it that way, but it hasn't been bad. It hasn't been negative. It's been, well, this is the way things are. This is the way things will be, and life goes on. I mean, there's far worse things that can happen, and some people are blessed, and nothing like this ever happens. But they have questioned once in a while since then. Am I susceptible to getting this?
Mm-hmm.
Is it hereditary, Dad? What can I do now to prevent things like this? And I have to address those questions with them. So it's on their mind. But their careers are going well, and they're doing fine. So we keep laughing off the truly funny parts, and it works.
Yeah. So how did you find a group of people? What was your first foray into, okay, I want to meet some people who also have Parkinson's? What did you do?
The first thing I did was I went to work at the Parkinson's Association of the Rockies here in Denver, the local support group or support organization. And I would answer the phone. So I was working full time still, but I would just bring my computer with me, and I'd answer phones there and do my regular job. And that was kind of fun and interesting. And then they had some events that they sponsored, and I helped out at a couple of events. And one event that I remember distinctly was a bicycle ride fundraiser for the Davis Phinney Foundation. And I went to work the booth for the bar up at the bike ride. And it was really fun and interesting. And of course, everyone there had Parkinson's, and I met a number of people, and I ran into Davis Phinney, and we chatted for quite a while. And it was just good to get to know him again, because we had met years before. But one guy that I ran into, his name is Don, and we became good friends after that. In fact, it wasn't long after that he called me and said, "Hey, I don't want this to sound weird," he said, "but would you be willing to just meet for coffee?" He says, "I have trouble meeting people because I with Parkinson's." And he was the one that kind of got me into that mode of helping others. And we still communicate today. And that's really what got me started towards meeting people. So it wasn't hard in that respect, but I can understand how it could be for some people. So I think if I could encourage people to do something, it would be, reach out to your local ambassador at the Phinney Foundation and start with the conversation. And I think people are be pleasantly surprised where it takes them.
Right. So what made you want to join the YOPD Council?
Well, I wanted to really give back to that group, so to speak, that area within Parkinson's. I mean, there's a lot of different age groups, there's a lot of different interest groups, and I think that's there's a lot going on with people that have Parkinson's. And I wanted to specifically turn my attention to YOPD because that's the world I came from. That's the world within Parkinson's that I grew up in. And I think it's important to give back and put back, so sort of pay it backwards, so to speak. And that's what attracted me to it. And I think I have a lot of information to help people. Like I said earlier about, I talk with people all the time on the phone and help them through the stage of being told you have Parkinson's to helping guide your financial system to a certain way to make sure you can deal with this financially in the future, because there's some big changes that come. How to tell children, how to tell your employer or employees. And that was, I've been down that road. I've been down the Social Security disability insurance road, and applied for disability through the company, the private policy that we had. And there's a lot to do there. And so I think if people like myself could help others get through that, I think that's really valuable and really helpful to people that are newly diagnosed, especially in the YOPD realm.
Right. So you mentioned, sort of getting your finances in order. Did you seek out somebody, a financial planner who was, an expert in helping people with chronic illness? What did you do to kind of get that going? Or was this just something that you were able to do yourself?
I'm not able to do that myself. We have a financial planner who's just fantastic. We really like her a lot. She's been with us for a long time, and she knew our situation financially. But then when we brought this to her, she did her own research. She tried to understand what was ahead for me with Parkinson's, and that's been really good for us and for her. And that hasn't been difficult at all, because we were already set up with that machine in place. But getting that machine to understand what the future would be like was a big change, because I had not anticipated retiring at age 54. And so that became a real change, a real alter point or a real milestone rather, for the financial plan we had developed for ourselves under normal conditions. So seeking it out, I think it's important for anybody who is diagnosed with Parkinson's or any other chronic disease for that matter to use what I call getting the house in order. And I think people understand what I mean when I say that. But financially preparing yourself and your family for a time period within which you may not be able to work and adequately prepare like you thought you would have been able to for retirement or leaving your job early. So, and then of course, then there's a Social Security part, and I got help with that as well. So
great. So what would you say, sort of two sides of the same coin, what would you say have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced being diagnosed, and particularly early? And then what are been some of the silver linings from this diagnosis?
that's a good question. I like that. I like the way you put that. The challenges at the beginning were me understanding what was going on with me. And once I kind of got over that part, there's sort of this grieving period, if you will, about accepting the fact that your life's going to be completely different than what you had thought or planned it would be like. And, no one plans for this. And like I said, I didn't even know what Parkinson's was when I was diagnosed. So, you get your PhD overnight off the internet, it's always a real challenge. That was huge. And then you start to apply what your future looks like, or what you think your future might look like, and and apply that to your situation. So the challenges kind of shifted from what I was doing at work towards the company, more towards how my departure from the company was going to be dealt with. So almost immediately shifted gears into that realm, and that was quite the challenge. We had to move people around in the company that would take my place, that we had to get ready for that. And my boss, business partner, we were really, really good about working together on that. It was really good. And then, of course, going through the stages of filing for and applying for and being approved for long-term disability, that was quite the challenge. And then the next step.
What was that? A lot of people have questions about that. Is that just something that takes a really long time, or it's hard to prove, or what is that?
Well, naturally, it's going to be a challenge to prove, but people with Parkinson's are pretty known in that community, in the insurance business. They understand that people with Parkinson's are different, and they're limited, and unfortunately, and some aren't. I mean, some people are still able to work quite a bit. It was very difficult for me, and leading a team of people, and then I also had you have a fiduciary responsibility to 105 families at that time. Our company was growing pretty good. And I could not run the risk of making a fatal mistake that would impact their lives. So you have to really accept the fact that you may or may not be able to conduct your business the way you used to. And so then you got to plan for the future. And again, we had to prepare people to fill my role when I was gone, because we knew that would happen at some point. And then as you do that and you make those preparations and you put those into motion, then then that's the choice, and things proceed on from there. And it all worked out really well for me, for the company, for everybody else. So again, but it takes work, and it takes understanding, and that's a huge challenge for my cognitive ability cognitive impact that Parkinson's has had on me, that was a super challenge. So.
Absolutely. Okay, so for the silver linings.
Silver linings. I spend a lot of time with my family these days, and that's been really good. You know, you need to do that. You need to take the time to do that. Smell the roses, and I don't do much in the way of the hobbies that I used to do anymore. I exercise more. We still like to travel, but we were interrupted this year by this thing called COVID, which is really kind of a drag. But then it also gives you the ability to do things like become an ambassador for the Davis Phinney Foundation, and that's been very fulfilling for me. And it's a work type thing, so to speak, but it's not the 4-letter word work. It's the happy word work, and I really enjoy that a lot. And again, it goes back to the YOPD, why I wanted to get involved, because I can bring back my experiences that hopefully will help others along that route.
Absolutely. Well, we know that you're helping them all the time. We love sending people your way for sure. So you, one of the programs that you got really involved with was pedaling for Parkinson's. And so what have you been doing with that? And pre-COVID and now, of course.
Well, as an avid cyclist that I was as I grew up, as long as I can remember, I've been bicycling pretty much everywhere. I stuck with that, and then of course early on, my sister in Cleveland, Ohio, had sent me this story about this guy that was researching cycling and Parkinson's, Dr. Jay Alberts, and of course I became a fan of his almost immediately. And this goes way back into the 2008, 2009 time period. And I thought, well, great, I love to ride bikes. I'll get through this okay. Of course, then I ran into Davis Phinney again, and the bike and Parkinson's just seemed to have this relationship that just drew me in, and I still like being there. So about 5 years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was running a pedaling for Parkinson's class in Denver, in Southeast Denver, which is far for me to drive to. And I said, well, I can't meet you down for there, but maybe we can start a class out here in Arvada, on the northwest side of town. So we actually did a survey of all the people we knew that had Parkinson's, and ironically, that's where people were really, the highest interest was in this part of town. So we started a class out here, and it grew, and it's gone really well until March 13th this year, where we got kicked out of the center we were in because it closed down due to the COVID thing. So we stopped for about a week, and then we realized we could do this online. So we set up an online class using Zoom, and that's been really successful. We have people from all over the country riding with us. In fact, we rode this morning, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's really been fun. I think people like to have other people with them, and we've kind of gotten used to this Zoom world that we're living in these days, and it's working.
That's great. So how did you let everybody know about it, and that you've got people all over the world joining it?
Well, I started with just the people that I knew, of course, my class, my friends in class, and there's about half of them continued on. The biggest drawback is not many people have an indoor bicycle. There's trainers and other things that you can buy and use, and I've helped people with that, but we just opted for what was available. And then gradually, people around the country started to hear about it, because I have connections around the country through the Ambassador Network, for one. Mm-hmm. And people just hear about it, and I get emails asking to sign in, and I give away the Zoom link, and away we go.
Oh, that's great. And so you still do that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What time?
10:30 to 11:30.
Okay. Well, we'll put that link in so people can reach out to you and find out. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's at pedalingforparkinsons.org.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's imagine you've got a giant audience, which you do right now, and you have all of these people that have been newly diagnosed with Parkinson's. What is the most important thing you want them to know?
First and foremost, don't be afraid. I'm not going to say it's not a big deal. It is a big deal, but it's a big deal you can get your arms around, and it's a big deal that you can make an even bigger deal out of very successfully through getting involved and reaching out and helping others and being helped and looking for help yourselves. I think, again, people, it's a hard thing to hear, but there's far worse things. And I think the attitude I always took was, there's somebody that's worse off than I am somewhere. And so I'm going to take what I have left and what I can hang on to and make the best of things, and what is it, the lemonade out of lemons, so or limoncello out of lemons.
Limoncello. Yeah, good. Great. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for being here and for sharing this information and insight with our listeners. And I'll definitely let them know how to reach out to you as an ambassador and to join our YOPD group. It's been really fun to do those every month. So we hope everybody keeps joining us.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, Mel. Thanks very much.